نبودی خلق محجوب از لقا. Second mistake. یک دو حرفی گفتم از سر بقا. Now transliteration. گر نبودی. گر in Persian is an abbreviation of the word agar. Agar means if, but it is allowed in poetry to take the a away and simply say gar. Gar means agar. So if. Nabudi, it was not. Again, this has to be in the prose, it would say nabud. This e at the end is an add-on that comes into the poetry to make the rhyme and the rhythm to works, and it is the way the ancient, not ancient, but old Persian language, few hundred years, they would say the same way, nabudi. Today they don't say nabudi, they say agar nabud. They don't say agar nabudi. So this I is an extra add-ons to the word nabud. Gar nabudi, if it was not. Nabudi means was not. Khalq means people. Creatures. Creations. In this case, it clearly talks about people. Khalq, people. Those who have been created. That is khalq. Mahjub. Mahjub comes from the word, you know it in English, you use it nowadays, hijab. Hijab that you say means veil. Mahjub means the person who's veiled. So if it wasn't, the people, they were not veiled, mahjub, as, from, than, liqa, the visit. Liqa means visit. Laqa, laqa means face. Liqa means visit. Baha'u'llah says, if people were not veiled from the liqa, the presence, the visit of God, that is said in the Quran, یک دو حرفی گفتم از سر بقا. One or two words I would have said from the secret of Baqa, in this case means eternity. So, to sum it up, if people were not veiled from the liqa, from the presence of God, a word or two I would have said from the secret or the mystery of Baqa, which means in this case eternity. Baha'u'llah says people are veiled. They do not know what liqa, presence of God, means. If they knew what it meant, I would have said few things, but really I can't, because they are. He sees this as an obstacle. That since people do not understand the meaning of liqa, then I can't say anything useless. But he attempts by explaining what it is. I have brought few of this, the beautiful writing of Baha'u'llah, in the Book of Certitude. You have to know, in Quran, bunch of verses that talks about that in the day of resurrection, the believers, they shall comprehend, see God, literally. But we know God is not physical, and seeing cannot be by eye. So some ways he says they will see him though. But we know we cannot see him even in the next life. Baha'u'llah says forever. But then what is this means? And on this, bunch of thousands of books have been written to explain what is this meeting of God means. Some Sufis, they say that you go at a point that you empty of yourself completely, you don't exist anymore. That is what the seventh valley is, the last valley, as it is translated as the valley of nothingness, which is a wrong translation. It has to be the valley of selflessness. if you enter to the complete selflessness, then God will become, in your place, God will be yourself. Which literally, again, that's not the way it is working. You cannot become completely selfless. By this cleansing of the soul, it means just to be ready to install the next program. You will always be material in your body. You will always have the vegetable soul in your body because you grow. You cannot be selfless of that. That's one of yourself. You always will be an animal because you can see and you can eat and you use the toilet and you have sex. These things are the animal self. You even do not need to be selfless of that. And then you have thinking power. The thinking power is the humanity, is the program that God has installed on the body of man, on his soul. So selflessness doesn't mean to be selfless of humanity. So some people, they think that I should not be no longer a human or an animal or a vegetable or even material so that God can come in. That is wrong. All of those are not contradicting with the presence of God in a person. God has created all of that in you anyways. What contradiction? By this selflessness means to be ready, okay, for the second installations or activation of what you're created for. A lot of us, we have computers and we don't know how to activate a lot of programs. I, for one, don't know. Somebody else all of a sudden comes and says, hey, they call me Tony. Tony, you could actually make movie by Microsoft. Oh, really? Yes, I didn't know that. Same way. In us, there is another self. In the Baha'i faith, we don't call it that the self of Baha'u'llah's self or the self of the will of God. We call it the spirit of faith, not the Holy Ghost. Spirit of faith is a copy, it's like a photocopy of the spirit of faith. We cannot become Baha'u'llah, but we can copy him. By the copying, again, do not mean that we're going to just show all his attributes. Not really. The proper word is that we will be related to him. Just like a computer, that's subscribing to the internet. You see? We have a telephone line between us and Baha'u'llah. That is what selflessness means. That is what really the meaning of realizing the presence of God means. Not becoming him, but just to understand him. That's what the word is. So Baha'u'llah goes on to explain this. What are these people who are veiled? What is this veil? That liqa is a big business in Islam, 17, 18 verses, and they don't know what it is. And Baha'u'llah refers to a few of them in his divine, everlasting book, the Book of Certitude. He says, the highest and most excelling grace bestowed upon men is the grace of attaining unto the presence of God. That's what Baha'u'llah means, presence of God means. And that's what he says, veiled from liqa. Presence of God and of his recognition. So if you recognize Baha'u'llah, or God in this case, then you have got the presence of God. I should not interrupt the word of Baha'u'llah. So I'm going to go from beginning. At least one paragraph. Highest and most excellent grace bestowed upon man is the grace of attaining unto the presence of God and of his recognition, which has been promised unto all people. This is the utmost degree of grace vouchsafed unto men by the All-Bountiful, the Ancient of Days, and the fullness of his absolute bounty upon his creatures. Of this grace and bounty, none of these people had partaken. Neither have they been honored with this most exalted distinctions. How numerous are those revealed verses which explicitly bear witness unto this most weighty truth and exalted theme, and yet they have rejected it, and after their own desire misconstrues its meaning, even as he had revealed. Baha'u'llah brings 4 or 5 quotations from Quran. We'll go one by one. The second paragraph. This is quotations from Quran, verses 29, chapter 29, verse 23. As for those who believe not in the sign of God, or that they shall ever meet him, these of my mercy shall despair, and for them doth a grievous chastisement await. Quran says that if you say you're not going to see God in the day of resurrection, you will be chastised. So it is a definite thing. The second verse, Baha'u'llah quotes, also he saith, they who bear in mind that they shall attain unto the presence of their Lord, and that unto him shall they return. This is in Quran, number 2, verse 46. The next one, also in another instance, he said, they who held it as certain that they must meet God said, how oft by God's will had a small host vanquished a numerous host. That's the Quran 2:49. And yet another instance he revealed, let him then who hopeth to attain the presence of his Lord work a righteous work. Quran 18, verse 111. And also he said, he ordered all things, he maketh all signs clear, that you may have firm faith in attaining the presence of your Lord. These two last ones are seriously big. Quran says in this last one, which is 13, number 2, it says God has made everything that you can see, only for one purpose. So all of this help you to understand, attain the presence of God. And the above one, he says in Quran, number 18, verse 11, if you're hoping to see God, you have to do righteous work. So one has to say that, what does the righteous work got to do with seeing? Immediately shows that eyesight, if you think you're going to see the God, you're not going to see it. It's not by eyesight, because it's conditioned upon you do good work, righteous work. The righteous means here authentic work, not work of your own. Authentic work, the work that God has said to do. The way he says to do good things, not the way you think to do it. That won't help you. Righteous means what God has ordained. That way of righteousness, not your way of righteousness. You have to use this if you want to see God. So that means it's conditioned that you have to be a spiritual. If you're not a spiritual, you're not going to see God. God passes by you and you don't see him. You think he's not. After bringing these 4 verses, Baha'u'llah continues, the divine majesty, the most beautiful. He continues, these people have repudiated all these verses that unmistakably testifies to the reality of attainment and to the divine presence. No theme had been more emphatically asserted in the Holy Scriptures. Notwithstanding, they have deprived themselves of this lofty and most exalted rank, this supreme and gracious station. Some have contended that by attainment and to the divine presence is meant the revelation of God in the day of resurrection. So this is Baha'u'llah says objection 1. Some people have now interpreted or misinterpreted the actual revelation of God in the day of resurrection. That would be his meeting, when God reveals. Should they assert that the revelation of God, continue quotations, this is not my word, the word of Baha'u'llah. Should they assert that the revelation of God signified a universal revelation, it was clear and evident that such revelation already existed in all things. The truth of this we have already established. He continues, most of the verses of the Quran indicates and bear witness to this spiritual theme. The verse, neither is there aught which doth not celebrate his presence, is an eloquent testimony there too. God says everything praises God. But I mean, everything is revealed to them. God is revealed everywhere, universally. Now, this is number one. So it's a general revelation of God. Baha'u'llah says revealed everywhere. Revelation of God is everywhere. There's nothing that can move without revelation of God in it. From a bee, from an insect, from a tree, from everything. God has revealed its power in them. So it cannot be that. Continues. Now if by attainment unto the presence of God is meant attainment unto the knowledge of such revelation, it is evident that all men have already attained unto the presence of the unchangeable countenance of that peerless King. Why then restrict such revelation to the day of resurrection? If it is the knowledge of this revelation, well, that knowledge is in Quran, that's in Bible, that's in other books, even the world of scientists. We know the knowledge of it. Baha'u'llah says no, it's restricted to the day of resurrection. So that cannot be mean also that. He continues. And were they to maintain that by the divine presence is meant the specific revelations of God expressed by certain Sufis as the most holy outpouring, if this be in the essence itself, it is evident that it had been eternally in the divine knowledge, assuming the truth of this hypothesis, attainment of the true presence of God is in this sense obviously possible to no one, inasmuch as this revelation is confined to the innermost essences and to which no man can attain. The way is barred and all the seeking is rejected. The last part, the way is barred and all the seeking is rejected, that's the word of Imam Ali. Baha'u'llah is quoting. So, Sufis are saying that meeting of God is that the essence of God will reveal itself. Baha'u'llah says the essence of God is blocked to everyone. That cannot be also the meaning of it. That cannot be either. He continues. Right. I would have to have another page. I don't have to do that. But in the same book, Baha'u'llah says then, it cannot be all of that. So what then the meeting is, Baha'u'llah explains that is the revelation of God explicitly in the manifestation of Him. Those are the prophets of God and the messengers of God, such as Jesus and Moses. And if you say, I see God, it meant you have seen the avatar of God. You cannot see God. So meeting Baha'u'llah, that would have meant the seeing of God. When Ali said, I will not worship the God if I have seen, he meant Muhammad. As Jesus says, God Father is in me, I am in Father. You have to understand it. That Father, the God, the essence, the source cannot fit in this life. Impossible. He contains everything. Everything is contained by Him. How can He come into something that He contains by Himself? But He uses the avatar. So we have to understand, therefore, the essence of God on the very first line says, nothing like that in this world and the universe, such possibility and the universe cannot beget some light like you, the truth of God. That means even if you die in the next life, and you die after that life, and go life and life after life, billions of life, you die, you're not going to see the essence of God. That door is barred forever. So we have to see the Word of God, which is manifested, who is responsible for these creations. But that cannot be seen in this world also. That's not possible. the manifestation of the will of God, not God. The will of God is Baha'u'llah. And that is the only window through which we can meet God and visit God and comprehend the presence of God. This is what Baha'u'llah says. گر نبودی خلق محجوب از لقا یک دو حرفی گفتم از سر بقا. If people were not veiled from the presence of God, a word or two I would have said to explain the secret of this eternal secret. So I covered only two baits or two lines for hymnistic, which talked about the essence of God in the first line, it cannot be seen, and the second line was talking about the avatar or manifestation of God, which we know him. But this Baha'u'llah that you read about his life history in the book or whatnot, that is not the real Baha'u'llah yet, my friends. All you see is an avatar of him. He is way beyond comprehensions of every man. He's responsible for all the creations of the universe, this life, others. Everything is created by Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah, glory of God, the will of God. See, what we see of that will of God, that infinite source, in this little planet of ours, he chooses one avatar, which is Baha'u'llah, and manifests himself through him like through a TV talking to us. When you see the king in the TV or prime minister in TV, you can swear with all the truth it is him and he's talking completely, or on a webcam. If you happen to talk to your lover, to your father, it is him right on your webcam. Everything he says is exactly the truth. There's no lies. But is limited. All what you see is the things that he says to you. He cannot perform things for you. If you ask your father on the webcam or a lover on the webcam, kiss me, my lover, he could kiss the screen on the thing. How gonna kiss you? All you're gonna touch is the glass. Or if in the other case, your father's on the webcam, he calls your name and he talks to you. Tell him, Daddy, can you give me $5? He says, son, how can I give you the money when I'm not there? But you could say, I see you, you're here. Sure. But he's not at the same time. So Baha'u'llah is like that. When you see Baha'u'llah, you see the limit, very limit. It's very limited based on your understanding. The real Baha'u'llah is revealing himself through this Baha'u'llah to you as an avatar, so you can understand. He tell you what to do in your life to get going, you know. But it's not the real manifestation. It's just a manifestation. It's not really, truly that will of God. Impossible. However, that is the one that all the attributes goes to. If you say kindness, creator, whatever attributes you're giving to the Baha'u'llah, which is Baha'u'llah, is his manifestation. Those attributes are attributed to the will of God. The will of God is kind. The will of God, not God, it's the will of God. And that will of God is not manifested. It cannot come in this planet and in this realm only through an avatar, a manifestation, a receiver, a TV, a webcam, whatever example you like in your head. That's the only way it is possible. And Baha'u'llah says people are veiled. They don't know what it means. If they knew it, I could have told them a few things. So this is the first two lines of this 318. I shall continue this tomorrow. God be with you.